Hello everyone, this is my Reteach presentation over intersectionality, the relationship between gender and identity. With this project, we will go over what intersectionality is, the sections within it, the connection it has to privileges and discrimination, and a glimpse of my own intersecting identities and what I've noticed in my own culture as part of the Latino community. So what is intersectionality? In Patricia Collins' book, Intersectionality is defined as how the overlapping of power relations influence social relations across diverse societies and individual experiences through identity marks such as gender, race, class, and more. In her book, she describes intersectionality as not a finished product, but rather a roadmap to discovery, and to be used as a tool to analyze the frameworks of social justice, change, and awareness. Now, looking at the subsections of intersectionality branches off into different categories that all provide the different experiences and perspectives individuals have that makes them unique. Within our textbook, in Chapter 4, Intersectionality provides great analysis on different identity aspects from gender, race, sexuality, nationality, class, ability, and age, and their influence from social construct as well as the advantages and disadvantages each mark has. Intersectionality not only relies on how each aspect relies on one another, but it also allows us to see one another through their own views and their own complexities. Yet with intersectionality also comes the recognition of privileges and the acknowledgement of discrimination. When it comes to the social hierarchy that we see often in our society, it comes with the existence of privileges within the different sectors of identities. Though this is a negative outlook that has often created a lack of equity and equality in our communities, it is also an opportunity to reevaluate these hierarchies and learn about the stories of those impacted by their gender, race, sexuality, and more. One thing that we learned about in our course, which is actually something I wanted to focus on for this presentation, comes from the video of the urgency of intersectionality and the reflection of the livelihoods of Black women, a section in our society who are often swept under the rug when it comes to fighting for equality for the Black community and the outreach for feminism. The video discusses a situation where an individual is rejected from a job she applied, to which she believes to be due to her being a Black woman. The company uses the excuse that since they hire Black men and hire women, they are not showing any discrimination, denying her the opportunity to be seen as a candidate and ultimately losing the chance to fight against the injustice. And for that, the best example of this specific intersectionality comes from the video itself on what that is described as the street of intersectionality, how the gender road and the race road experience traffic, which will later be examined through the policies that is meant to assist and support, yet it can only come assist as long as it is outside of that intersection where it suddenly focuses on the needs of Black women. But now, how does this tie to the remainder of my presentation? Through my own intersecting identities of gender and ethnicity. A brief summary of me: I am a 24-year-old Latina woman born in Austin, Texas, and grew up in a traditional lower-class Mexican household. In my household, I grew up with the usual gender roles that you would typically see in most households, especially in Mexican households, with my father being the breadwinner of the home as a construction worker and my mother staying at home taking care of me and my older sister. Now, for me, the talk about being both Latina and a woman has been something to be brought up often. A big thing for me growing up was recognizing these gender roles, but also a sense of discrimination when it comes to being a Latina woman. The household dynamic was the tip of the iceberg, and something that I never minded. I grew up watching my mother conflicted emotions to being a housewife, from loving the care for her family to hoping for a chance to redo her life. She grew up with the same experiences and expectations as me. Women take care of the men, and men took responsibility of the finances in the house. Something that we usually breathe through this dynamic, and something that I have seen firsthand, is the stereotype of machismo. Men are seen as above women in the Latino culture, and though machismo usually reflected on a Latinx man's need to be in charge of the house, it also creates a drift between gender roles to sexism. This sexism will lead to a revelation of gender inequalities in Mexico, a section that is provided in the Springer book on the psychology of gender through the lens of culture. These inequalities not only control their livelihoods, but also limited their opportunities to have a better life. Another thing I grew up with was the fear of being targeted because I am a woman. I grew up listening to stories of women being attacked and even murdered that would be later classified as femicide. This phenomenon became a trademark in Mexico from the moment my parents left the country to now, as they and even my entire family recall stories that continue to haunt families in Mexico who have lost their daughters, mothers, sisters, and more solely because they were women. Gilfredo Lopez's article, Femicide and Gender Violence in Mexico, provides a glimpse of the statistics that demand for the protection of these human rights by widening gender perspectives and reevaluating the systematic approach that can halt these acts. Though this continues on as of today, a lot of movements have gone to finding these women and fighting for the safety of everyone and supporting those to find the help that they need. To learn more about these cases, I included the links to this BuzzFeed and Vice video in the description below. Though inequalities exist in the different cultures, regions, and societies that our world holds, so does the opportunity to analyze these intersectionalities in hopes of creating a better understanding of those around us. With that, I will ask you, how do your identities intersect to shape your experiences? And what are some ways you can support people and share the complexity of their lives through this learning?